audiomicro.com.
It's impossible to say how many millions of people would have lost their lives if it weren't for this man, Dr. Charles Drew.
I certainly would have liked to met the man. He is a giant in our industry.
Dr. Drew revolutionized the blood banking industry, and he's responsible for discovering and developing many blood banking techniques that are still used today.
He was one of the pioneers that discovered that basically you can remove the plasma, liquid portion of blood, and actually lyophilize, freeze dry plasma and store those proteins for prolonged periods of time. And really it was breakthrough technology in terms of being able to provide some kind of a transfusion support with protein during war efforts.
Before this discovery, red blood cells could not be stored for more than a couple of days at a time.
Dr. Drew was instrumental in doing some of the research and some of the work having to do with the stabilization and preservation of blood cells. Some of the solutions that we use, the anticoagulant preservative solutions, the groundwork was done by Dr. Drew, and we have further expanded on that to develop new solutions that have allowed longer storage of blood. He did a lot of the discovery work that basically allowed us to create what we call cross-matching or compatibility testing.
Dr. Drew established the first blood bank in England and one at Columbia University in New York. He also organized a system of volunteer blood donors and centralized the collection of donated blood, where he processed the blood and separated out the plasma.
Where would blood banking be if it were not for Charles Drew? I don't think we'd be as advanced as we are today. Certainly much of the pioneering work of the technology that we use today was developed by Dr. Charles Drew.
Dr. Charles Drew was a scientist and a practicing physician who made an enormous contribution to science and to medicine by developing techniques for the preservation of blood plasma. It saved millions of lives since the 1940s, including mine in a car crash in the 1970s in Australia. He was also a great advocate for human rights and civil rights, and the work that he did broke down barriers for other research scientists from minority backgrounds for years to come.
Sadly, in 1950, Charles R. Drew died in a car crash on his way to a medical conference. Charles Drew's life was cut short, but his legacy of devotion to civil liberties, a commitment to innovation and excellence, and compassion for all people endured.